Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at It's Justino. And we're doing live player ratings for Arsenal 2, Liverpool nil. Not Liverpool, Newcastle. Last week I was calling Liverpool Newcastle, and now it's vice versa. I'm getting them confused, but I don't know how you could because they're two completely different teams. So yeah. Let's see. Did I do it on the thing as well? Yes, I did. I did. I confused them again. I'll change it later, no worries. But actually I can change it now while I talk to you guys. So, yeah, we won the game. I have to be honest, I don't feel great about it. I think that, in games like today, I was hoping for a little bit more of a fluid attack. I felt like it took us a very long time to get going. And it's just one of those things where you're like, yes, we got the result, and that's the most important thing. And there's obviously going to be people that are like, oh my gosh, Arteta out. We didn't play free flowing football. But I don't really care how we create the chances. I just want us to create them quicker. I want us to be more aggressive. And we just didn't seem to have that connectivity in those first kind of 45 minutes. It took into basically halftime for us to start combining at the edge of the box. And I know that they had a lot of men behind the behind the ball, but like in reality, if there's no space in behind, you have to connect close to each other and try to move them around. And we just weren't doing that. There was just so much of this rash and lack of composure in terms of the deliveries from Tavares and Tommy in that first half, and a lot of isolation. Bukayo Saka kind of out there, double team by himself on the right hand side. We see that very often in this system. It's not just a Bukayo thing; it's a Pepe thing when he plays over there. And I didn't see a lot of combination play between Thomas Partey, Sambi, and Odegaard. I saw a lot of individual playmaking from deep positions and long range shots. But ultimately, if we have three players in midfield, I would prefer them to kind of pass to each other and try to create space that way rather than hit it out wide and just hope that Tavares and Tommy put in good crosses to Aubameyang, who is nowhere to be found in that box. So it took a while to get going, and I felt like there was an individual effort from Bukayo Saka to change the game in that second half, and it opened things up. But this game, I mean, it doesn't really tell us anything new about this team, really. Um, we're still defensively resolute. Ramsdale, Ben White, and Gabrielle in particular are so strong back there, and that partnership that they have back there has gelled so quickly that it shocked me how fast it's happened. But when we start moving through the thirds, the midfield is still looking like a weak spot. It's usually one player, maybe two, are playing well at a time, and then there's one or two players that are just not on their game. And then the attack, we still are lacking balance in that attacking four. I called for Martinelli to start the game. I still think it was a game for him to start, and he comes in and scores a really nice goal. But I'm just trying to figure out why Arteta can't maybe concede a little bit on the ESR and Saka playing together every single game. If they're not close together, it just tends to be a little bit of this like dry with a lack of intensity. And if you bring in a Martinelli and you allow him to play on one side and Saka on the other, or Emil Smith Rowe and Martinelli, I just feel there's a better balance, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think I'm being too harsh, or do you think that we can look at a game and be like, yeah, we won, um, but there's some things to definitely improve upon, and it's okay to talk about it. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I know I know I put Liverpool up there, but I meant Newcastle. I've been getting them confused. I don't know why. We need to relive the agony of that result again, obviously. Um, AK Gunner says 3-point collectors. Come on, you Gunners. Colby Hollingsworth says 3 points, but our senior players are just passengers. Pap says back five, clean sheet, Nuno, Tommy pushing forward, great 8 rating. Nashville Gunner says, does anyone else sing Gucci Mane every time St. Maximin carries the ball? Carries the ball. I don't. Matt G says, I don't want to bring the mood down, but we need to talk about our senior players. Abba and Party were just bad. I do think that the overwhelming reaction that I have seen on socials, and obviously even now still, um, in this chat, is that we're expecting more from Aubameyang and Thomas Partey, and I think we wanted more from them against Liverpool, gave them a pass because of how difficult that game really was, and just we were just lacking everything in that game, and Liverpool are great opposition. When the opposition is Newcastle and we're at home, I expect those players to be able to step up regardless if the situation is perfect. And I just feel like neither of them really showed themselves in a good light. And it's making me worried going into this next run of games where I can't remember the last time they played well. Aubameyang was not good against Watford. He was not good against Liverpool. Probably the last game that he played well in might have been Aston Villa, maybe. So and Thomas Partey has been out. So when you can't remember the last time your senior players played well, it doesn't really bode well going into difficult fixtures. So yeah, I think we do need to talk about it. Um, Thank you so much for your super chat, Akash. Super disappointed with Abba and Party. Top four is difficult if the senior players don't step up. Yeah, for sure. I think we will struggle to make top four if you think it's possible. I personally don't, but a lot of it has to do with our senior players not really stepping up, plus the amount of young players that we have that are going to be inconsistent. Onyx Lens says Newcastle just crowded the midfield to the 18-yard box, felt their entire team was right there until they got tired. They did get tired and we wore them down, which it may be about game state. When I watch the game, I just personally feel like it's hard to break down a low block. Most teams struggle to break down low blocks, but what I didn't see was a solution beyond just Tavares and Tomiyasu getting the ball in wide positions and trying to get it into the box. I didn't see any other solutions beyond that, and I think had we had been a little bit closer together and tried to move them around and at least get into the box so that they had to make decisions, we would have been a lot more dangerous a lot earlier. Lone Star Londoner says, "Brilliant goal from Martinelli." Of course, I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for him. Bowie the Cat says Nuno and Tommy were class. I do think in the second half they were much better. I think in the first half they lacked composure, and Tomiyasu was struggling out there on the right touchline, trying to figure out what was his next move. Some of that has to do with the fact that he's not really a progressive right back, but I think some of it was a composure issue with Tavares. He was just trying really hard to make up for the Liverpool mistakes, which I can't really fault him for, and he made up for it so much in the second half. So, and that's what you want to see, right? Matt G, shout out to White and Gabrielle. They didn't have to do much but dealt with everything when called upon. That is the highlight of our season so far has been the connection between the three in the back of Ramsdale, White, and Gabrielle. That has been the highlight of the season for sure. So let's go ahead and get started with some player ratings. We're going to start off. Let's start off with the boys in the back. So there's about 80 of you guys watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I have an eye on the Aston Villa game, and I'm talking to you guys as well. And it's a good morning. It really is. So let's start off with Ramsdale. What I'll say is that he made a really good save for John Joe Shelby's shot in the first half, and then he didn't have much to do beyond then. And I think there was like one or two that he may have been able to come out and claim. But I'm nitpicking here. There wasn't a lot for him to do. So I'm just going to give him an 8. Not much to do when called upon. He did mostly the right things, and still our signing of the season, so I'm going to give Ramsdale an 8. Moving on to Gabrielle, I think I could easily give him about the same. When called upon, did the right things, didn't have much to do. But what I will say is Joe Linton and Callum Wilson were really aggressive on White and Gabrielle. Callum Wilson in particular. I think he should have had a yellow early on in the game, and Gabrielle did a good job with the physical battle. So, what I'm liking from Gabrielle is he's not as rash as he was last season, and he relishes in those games where the attackers just decide, we're going to try to beat up their center backs. This is not Mustafi. This is not Socrates. This is not David Luiz. Gabriel is different gravy, and he's showing that day in and day out with the consistent performances that you want to see from players that you rely upon. White, I think he was better than Gabriel because not necessarily better, but he defends differently, and I like the way he defends and the way he anticipates. He anticipates the danger and gets in front of the player before it happens. He had some good moments where he was able to intercept and kind of dribble into the offensive end. He was very composed, calm, cool, and collected. So the three of them, I'm just going to give an 8. Like Ramsdale, Gabriel, and White, I think they all get an 8. They were the type of performances you want to see from players that you rely upon. You want to see 8, 7s and 8s every single week. 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 7 and 8. And we're kind of getting that from them. Besides the Liverpool game, where you could really pick through the performance, where I mean, let's be real, they were getting peppered, but that's what you want to see. 7s and 8s, 9s from the players that you rely upon. And those three are doing it every single week. So I have nothing to complain about when it comes to those three. Io says, Gabrielle loves a dust up. Um, Tony says, I just laugh when someone tries to get physical with Gabrielle. They bounce off like children. Um, Yo-Yo says, don't take for granted the job Gabrielle and White did by not giving up needless fouls and maintaining pressure. Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm not underplaying it. It's just those are the performances that you need from players that you rely on, and they make it look easy. They make a game against Newcastle not look like we're under threat. And it's not because Newcastle weren't trying to do anything. It's we stopped them from doing it. So it may seem like I'm playing it down, but they're getting into that mode, and Gabriel got to it a lot earlier than the other two because he's been here for a while. But they're getting into that consistency where you don't even you're not expecting to see anything new. Like, I just think that they're going to have great performances every week. That's the mode that we're getting in with those three in particular. You know what you're going to get, and it's going to be a 7 or an 8, maybe even a 9. So I'm not downplaying it. It's just they're solid. They're so, so solid. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Kobe says, Zambi outplayed Party. Yeah, we're going to get to that. I know Io's chomping at the bit to talk about Thomas Party. We're going to talk about him. He's part of the senior players that we're going to be talking about. So, yeah, let's get to it. But I want to go to the fullbacks now. I was actually shocked that that Tavares kept his spot. Not because I don't think that I thought he should have been dropped. It's just I thought that might be a good opportunity for Kieran Tierney to get some minutes, but I'm at a point where with Nuno where I'm like, he's good enough to play, so I'm not worried if he's in the game, which is a good thing. Tomiyasu is what he is, he's just he's not great in the final third. You have to keep it really simple for him. Like he has to either be putting in a first time cross or trying to play it over the top into space for somebody running on. When he does that, he's really, really good. His long range passing is so, so good over the top, his long switches. But when it comes to that intricate interplay between him and Odegaard and Saka, I think that was really lacking in the first half. And he just lacked composure in the first half. Tavares very similarly struggled with composure, but he's different than Tomiyasu, where he's all gas, like just go forward every single time. And he didn't struggle defensively just like he didn't against Liverpool. Defense is not his issue. I just think he just needs to calm down. And when he calms down, he's going to be so, so hard to play against. His physical attributes make him something that most defenders or most players don't want to have to play against, where, he just makes it really difficult and he just keeps going and keeps going. If he can gain the composure, he can be so, so dangerous. So for me, uh, not great in the first half. I have to be honest. I was not impressed with either of them in the first half. Wasn't impressed with anybody, but they made up for it in the second half with assists for both goals. So I'm actually going to give the pair of them 6.5. Can't erase the first half just because the second half went a lot better. So yeah, I'm going to give them 6.5. So what do you guys think about Nuno Tavares and Tomiyasu. Do you think I'm being harsh by giving them 6.5, or do you think it's fair based on the second half that they improved? But you can't just ignore that first half, can you? Pap says drop Sambi, play Nuno and Tierney versus Man U. Jess, did you just see Thiago go for Liverpool? No, I did not. I am watching Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. Kobe says Nuno looked like he took some of Thomas Partey's shooting lessons from last year for the first half, made up for it in the second. When we get into those good positions, in and around the box, I want to see Sambi and Nuno in particular look up and try to combine with Saka, ESR, and Odegaard. And even Aubameyang. There are opportunities to just play the ball into the box. As once you're in the box, the defenders have to make decisions, and I don't think we make them have to make decisions. When you take a wild shot, you're letting the defense off of the hook. And I think once we started to try to penetrate and get into the box and make Newcastle make decisions, they faltered. So for me, it's stop taking shots from outside of the box. All shots are not good shots because they're not going to go in, and just compose yourself just a little bit. But they did that a lot better in the second half. And that's a lot of the reasons why we scored goals is we got back to what they do best and they just relaxed a little bit. So yeah. Tony says Nuno had a sick assist. Yes, he did. AK Gunner says Nuno Tavares has run the furthest, has the highest average speed and the highest top speed of any player in the game. Exhausting just watching him. Yeah, exactly. Like his physical attributes plus the things that he can do on the ball make him a dangerous proposition if he's composed. And it's nothing wrong with saying that they lack composure. They're young players. They're going to do that, but they need to work on it. And it's something that they'll get better at. Jean Renee says Sambi has been very decent game today. Yeah, he has. Pap, I usually watch, so instead of watching Dortmund, when sometimes I just wait and just when I actually have the time to enjoy it, sit and watch the replay, because if I try to watch it live, right now, I won't be able to concentrate on it. Usopp's Rubber Band says, Jess, I think sometimes we try to play the ball into the box far too much. We need to take some shots from outside the box. I hear what you're saying, but there's nothing more dangerous than players in the box making defenders have to make decisions. And so I hear what you're saying. Sometimes it feels like we're trying to walk it into the box, but our shots from long range are not good, so I would prefer being in the box and making defenders make decisions than, just kicking it. Yo-Yo says harsh, frustrating performances, but they were able to respond in game, not in between games. Those goals come from the fullbacks. Exactly. I mean, I gave them, if you had just stopped the game in the first half, you guys, just say the first half was, and you marked Nuno Tavares and Tomiyasu, you probably would have given them a 5. If you were being nice. They were not good in the first half, you guys. They just weren't to me. And then in the second half, they played much, much better. So they went up. But do I think that they were at the same level as Gabriel, White, and Ramsdale at 8? No. So a bad half mixed with a good half equals probably a 6.5, 7, if you're being nice. So I don't think I'm being harsh because I can't erase the first half. Nashville Gunner says Nuno on his off-foot prayer shots is not what we needed. Yeah, no. He just wanted to make up for it, but he did in the second half, and it is what it is. I do like Nuno a lot, and I like his spirit and stuff is really good. So there's about 84 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this midfield or lack thereof. So let's start with the good. Sambi was midfielding today. That is what you want to see from your midfielder. You want to see presence. You want to see people fizzing balls in between the lines. He was composed. He was relaxed. He had just a couple of those little bobbles on the end of the box where you're just like, Sambi, just kick it out. But nevertheless, he was doing a lot of the playmaking from deep. He was slipping the balls into Nuno, and he was the midfielder today. And he made you look at Odegaard and Thomas and say, why aren't you doing that? And I know that everybody has a different role, But Sambi's level of performance is what you expect against Newcastle. You expect presence. You expect you to recognize that they're out there on the field. You want their passes to get to the feet of other Arsenal players. The pass that he had to Saka in the first half was great. It was a very nice ball over the top, and he had that range of passing that we know he had. Short passes in between the lines as well and over the top. He was the the midfielder today, and for me, he was I think he was man of the match because I'm expecting it from Ramsdale and White and Gabrielle. But I think from the last game where he had a horrible game to this game to have this type of performance, I know that it's different levels of opposition. But you can see, like Nuno, he lacked composure in the first half. Sambi was good from minute 1 to the last minute. And he played in a midfield where the two people that he was playing with didn't play well. They just didn't, So for me, I think Sambi, I saw his ceiling today. Like, not his ceiling, I saw what he could be today. Like, kind of like in preseason where we were watching, we were like, "Ooh, he looks really good." This was another game where you looked at it and you were like, "Actually, this could end up being an amazing signing." And so for me, he was my man of the match, for sure. And he midfielded today. That's the way I describe it. Nashville Gunner says, I brought the hammer and the nails for that one. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Io says Sambi was sublime. Zamir says playing Smith left-hand side is imbalancing to the team. We need him in the middle. Pepe should be in. I think we can all see Abba is declining. I hear what you're saying. I do think that there is an argument where the front four that I really wanted to see was Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard and like Lacazette. I think that's the balance that you kind of need. I think you could make a case for putting ESR at the 10 and getting another goal scorer on. I think the goal scorer that you want on is Martinelli and not Pepe. I don't see Pepe. I just don't see Pepe as a real option at the moment. But I do hear what you're saying about Smith Rowe. Maybe we're not getting the most out of him out of that left-hand side. I would like to see him played more central sometimes, but we bought Odegaard, so we have to figure out how to use him. Usopp's Rubber Band says, is it me or does Odegaard play far right instead of being in the middle? Yo-Yo, Sambi repaid the manager's faith post Crystal Palace. Others in the team need to take note. That is a very good point. So I'm giving Sambi a 8.5. I'm going to give him an 8.5. I think he was really, really good, and right up there with some of the best performers in the game today. Now, you guys, let me know what you guys thought about Sambi and what points you're going to give him. I gave him an 8.5. Odegaard, Martin Odegaard. I want to give him some grace because he hasn't played with the team a lot. So you have to kind of give him like a game or so to get into it. Just like with anybody else, where when we like a player, we want to give them more time. We should give Odegaard that same thing. He probably needs a run of games, and he just really hasn't played a lot for Arsenal this season. I think he did some good things with some of his passing, but it took him a while to get into it. His first touch in the first half was bad. Like, he couldn't control the ball, and he was getting into good positions, but he wasn't able to do anything with the ball because his touch was so bad. Then when he got into the second half, he got a little bit better. But I think my biggest issue with Odegaard at this point is trying to figure out whether or not we can have any central presence with him in the team. When you have two players that traditionally sit very deep, and then you have a 10 that's playing all the way out on the right-hand side, and then you have Smith Rowe all the way out on the left. I know that what we're trying to do is create overloads in wide areas because we don't feel like we can gain that centrality. But against Newcastle, we have to back our technical ability enough to play in central spaces. And I don't know if it's Odegaard trying to get away from players and going out wide to get some space, or if that is coached. I tend to think that it's coached because we even saw Lacazette going out really far on the right hand side. But Odegaard is so predictable because he wants to get back onto his left. You have Saka on that side. I need to get on my left. Odegaard, I need to get on my left. If Pepe's over there, I need to get on my left. Our right hand side is very predictable at the moment, and I don't think having somebody that's supposed to be our number 10 that can't be unpredictable hurts us. So Odegaard, I think, was ineffective partly based on his skill set and then partly based on the fact that he just hasn't played in the team for a while. Um, yeah, I don't know what to do with him. I don't know what to do with him because sometimes I feel like if we played Smith Rowe in the 10 role, we may not get the passing, but are we getting the passing from Odegaard? Like, can we honestly say that the passing that he did today was something that we missed or no? Because the biggest pushback on having Smith Rowe in the 10 is that we don't have a passer. And I don't think Odegaard's passing makes it I don't think what Odegaard offers in passing is more than what Emil Smith Rowe can offer central. So we have a little bit of a dilemma here. Did Odegaard do enough today to push Lacazette out of the team? I don't think so. I think we go to Old Trafford and you see another Lacazette and Aubameyang front line. Um, but he wasn't bad, but he didn't really make a play for that position. And he doesn't look like he's fitting into what we're trying to do. And I don't know if that's because he wants everything to go through him. That's kind of the issue with having a traditional number 10. They have a hard time playing in teams where the team is not built around them and everything doesn't go through them. But he struggled today. He struggled today. I don't know how else to really how to put it. Like he just really struggled today, and I don't think he really made an he didn't really make a push or impose himself. Great free kick in the first half. I think that was maybe his shining moment, which says a lot about the game today. Um, Tony says Odie looked on a different page. First game back, I'll judge in a few games. That's fair. Yo-Yo says Odie was frustrating. He has some excuses. Yes, not being in the team, and not playing with this set of players for a while is a decent enough excuse where I'm like, okay, well, he probably just needs to run a games. Nashville says Odegaard switches to Nuno were very effective. Yes, they were. But let me ask you this. Can't White and Tamiyasu do those switches? I mean, we were pushed up basically to the halfway line. So those are passes that I could see White and Tamiyasu doing with their eyes closed. So switches are good, but we need him to influence the game from the right outside the penalty box centrally. That's where we need somebody that can trigger our little combinations on the edge of the box. And I don't think he necessarily did that today. I think Tavares did a decent job of it in the second half, as well as Emil Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka. But when it comes to Odegaard, his influence for us is quite deep. And we have 2 or 3 really good ball playing center backs, even a really good goalkeeper that can do some of that. So do we need him to be switching the ball? What do we need him to be doing? Tawanda says, I think Odegaard was good. Bro Pro says Odegaard 6.5. He did not lead the attack as he was expected to. Pap says Odegaard pressing is the only difference. Io says spot on Yo-Yo. He should have bossed that midfield pocket. Lalieta says no, that would delay the switch. I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I guess I hear what you guys are saying, but I guess if all he has is the switch, that's not necessarily enough to be like, okay, well, that's not the influence that I would want him to have. His influence just comes very deep, in my opinion. I don't think he's way up the pitch. Like maybe I need to rewatch the game, but again, what I'm looking for is somebody to be imposing themselves at the top of the box. And the switches are great, but he didn't really get into that central pocket and make things happen. So Yo-Yo says, still thinks Saka should be playing centrally over ESR and Odie. Usopp's Rubber Band says Odegaard a 5 for me. Yeah, I'm actually going to give him a 4.5. May seem harsh, but again, I just feel like I can't erase the first half, and I just feel like he should have more influence on the game than a couple of switches. Um, and he does have excuses to get better, um, because he hasn't played with this group. But again, I expect a little bit more from him, so I can't really say that I think that those couple of switches warrant anything higher than a 4.5. Nicholas says teams aren't going to let a player dictate play at the top of the box like that. This is the Premier League and spaces are condensed. I disagree. It's not about dictating play from the top of the box. I think we're letting him off the hook here and saying that because Newcastle was flooding the box that we can't have any access to central spaces. Teams that have good technical players always access central spaces at some point within the game. And he did have good moments where he dropped into spaces centrally, but ultimately his touch was so bad and let him down that he couldn't do anything. So he ended up drifting out wide to get a little bit more space. I think we're letting him off the hook and just saying, well, teams don't let us access central spaces, so it's okay not to even try to get anywhere near it. Um, they mostly play in half spaces, I understand that, but no. I kinda disagree with that a little bit, I have to be honest. Pap says, "First half team performance is a 5." Nashville says, "I agree, it was one part of his game that was good, he did not bring enough of central presence." Yo-Yo says, "Was a rough game to watch until Nuno and Saka took ownership and vacated their positions." That's another thing is it takes us a long time to feel like we have license to move out of our zones. Um, Teams are best when players are moving, and I feel like there's a lot of, like, stagnation where players are just they're very apprehensive to make runs or to pop into pockets of space. It also doesn't help that when they do that early in the game and they lose the ball a couple of times, it shakes you, so then you start to be a little bit more conservative. I feel like that kinda happened early with Thomas Partey and Odegaard taking bad touches, and then so we just said, "No more central spaces, let's go out wide, let's keep it safe," and, playing safe doesn't necessarily always work out in your benefit. Tawanda says a bit harsh for Odegaard's rating. I maybe it is, but just because a team doesn't want you to access central spaces doesn't mean you just completely vacate it and don't even try to be in it. It's Newcastle, so yeah. Kevin Paris Internal says Odegaard helps the pressing of the poor compared to Lacazette on the poor elite team need to be good, be of the poor. Van de Beek is not going to be near the box in the Premier League 6. Okay, so now let's talk about Thomas Partey. He wasn't good today, and I didn't say he was good against Liverpool either, which seems to be maybe what people felt like I was saying. Thomas Partey was not good against Liverpool, and he was not good today, and I can't remember the last time that he was good. It's been a while, so maybe the Aston Villa game. I feel like he's fading into the background, and his personality is not showing up. I know that not every single senior player has that I want to lead kind of mentality, but you should have enough respect for yourself to come out there and at least play your absolute very best. And I'm having against Liverpool, he needed the best possible conditions, in my opinion, to make a dent on that game because our midfield is so much weaker and we just didn't have the outlets and we were getting overrun. In a game where we should be dominating, he doesn't need the perfect conditions to pass the ball to a red shirt. A lot of wayward passes, a lot of passes that just didn't get to anybody, just seemed like he was on an island by himself, just kind of doing it was like he was just on the wrong page and making the wrong passes and not passing to red shirts and looked really slow. And, I will say that probably some of that is fitness, but fitness, I don't think is the same as like being able to pass a simple ball to a red shirt. and he wasn't really doing what we are used to him doing, which is those fizzy passes in between the lines. Lakonga was doing more of that, and I'm okay with that because it's kind of like, well, one will take the more reserve role and the other one will be a little bit more progressive. But in his singular possession, he was poor. Even if he was passing sideways or just 5 yards in front of him, he was poor. The pace on his passes were poor. He just was not good today, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence going into games away against Everton and Manchester United because I haven't seen good performances from our senior players in a couple of games. So, it's worrying. It's worrying. I don't know if he's struggling to because of his fitness levels. He's struggling to get up to the pace of the Premier League. Maybe in La Liga, he was more physically dominant, and now in the Premier League, because everybody's fast and strong, it's difficult for him to get a grasp on things. But we're into November now. He's missed a chunk of the season so far, and if he continues this inconsistency throughout the season, which I feel like some of that may be influenced by what they can do together. Granite and Thomas can do together when Granite comes back. But if this inconsistency is continues throughout a second season, I don't feel like you need to sell him or anything like that, but I do feel like there needs to be an emphasis on bringing in more than one midfielder in the summer because you don't want to get into his year where he's 30 years old and he's unreliable again. So I didn't like this performance from him. It stunk. It really did. It stunk so bad. It stunk so bad. And I can't give him the same grace that I did against Liverpool because it wasn't Thiago and Fabinho, it was John Joe Shelby and whoever the hell else they had in there. And Sambi was playing well. The conditions were good for you to play well. You were at home. Sambi was playing well. We weren't under a lot of pressure. We had all of the possession, and you still stunk up the joint. So I think it's okay to say that he was very, very bad. And I'm going to give him just a 4. And I could have given him a 3, but because I still feel like he's not fit, um, I still will give him a little bit more, but it stunk. It just did. It just dunk. Um, Tony says Party needs a partner, but he should be our superstars, not and should our superstars not need a partner? That said, NC marked hard. Um, yeah, that's it's true, but it's different when Newcastle is marking you. I've seen him against lower level opposition be able to control the ball, to receive the ball under pressure and sidestep away from that opposition because they're lower level. I don't expect him to do that against Tiago and Jota and Ox. But do I expect him to be able to do that against John Joe Shelby and Almiron? Absolutely. So I hear what you're saying. Now, in regards to should our superstars need partners, I think so, because you see even top midfielder and Pogba does not play well without Conte. There are some players that can be just so good that no matter who they're next to, it doesn't matter. Cesc Fabregas was kind of like that. I don't think Thomas Partey is on that level. So he needs a partner. And the faster we get it for him, the faster we can figure out whether or not this is somebody that we can rely upon. CJ says Partey was poor, gave the ball away so much. Against Liverpool, he got past because he's just returning Liverpool's press, but not today. He was just poor. That's kind of where I kind of sit on it. Ozzy says, Partey wasn't bad. He just wasn't good either. He has 3 games where you just don't see his quality after recovering from an injury. We'll see if that is true. Yo-Yo says, Partey doesn't deserve his starting place like Abba. Tierney was fortunate to get injured. They need to repay Arteta's leniency ASAP. It's kind of like Willian in a way where he was so bad for like 8 games, and then Arteta finally took him out and things just lightened up. I don't think we're quite there with Thomas, but we might be there with Aubameyang, where it's kind of like you might just need to let Martinelli play some games and see what happens, and it'll come naturally in January, but maybe even a little bit sooner. Martinelli needs a run of games. So, oh yeah, my cousin's here, amazing. Thank you. But Martinelli needs to run a game. So if you want him to be good during AFCON, you might want to start easing him in now. But I think we're there with Aubameyang really because he's not injured. He was playing against Newcastle and it was just like, whoa. But just staying on Thomas Partey for a second, I know that he takes a while to get up to speed after his injury. But if that's the case, and we know that he might be unreliable, two midfielders have to come in no matter what. It's not an option because he'll be 30 next season. I don't see a scenario where he gets through an entire season at this point. So, yeah, but um I think he was a little bit less than okay. Like I know people are saying he wasn't good, but he was not bad either. I do think his contributions on the ball would say that he wasn't great. Um Pap says, "Party at Arsenal can't find consistency, and please stop with the partnership. We need a middle field." Um, okay. I guess you're trying to say you need more than a partnership. Io says, "Is Thomas still world class, Jessica?" I mean, everybody kinda knows I was saying that in jest. I don't know if that's like I still think he's one of the when he's on it, he's one of the best midfielders, and he would be one of the best in the Premier League. But, if you don't like Thomas Partey, that's fine, Io, like, I get it. Like, you wanna just bang home that he's not that good. He's a great midfielder, great skill set, not playing well right now, so, yeah. This just is what it is, isn't it? Mankey's saying, "Nashville Gunnar, oh, really? Thankfully, I didn't cancel playing football for that then. Thanks, mate." And Nashville says, "Big game for Nashville tomorrow." Okay, so yeah. We went through the midfield, not great. I think I said I gave Thomas a 4. A 4, Odegaard a 4.5, something like that. Midfield, besides Sambi, was not good. Now let's go to the front end, the top end of the pitch. Start with Smith Rowe. I don't think he was bad, but I don't think he just didn't have a goal today. Maybe he wasn't bad. He still did what Smith Rowe usually does. I wish that he would impose himself centrally just a little bit more. Um, I do. I wish he would impose himself a little bit more centrally. I think when he's out wide the entire game, he kind of lacks a little bit of something. But reliable on the ball, didn't give the ball away a million times, did some good connections or good combining with Tavares. A peripheral game for Emil Smith Rowe, but nothing bad. So I'm gonna give him a 7. He just missed a goal, didn't he? So if he had gotten one of his little trademark goals, I think we'd be like, "Oh, Smith Rowe, he played so good." But a 7. Um, Dublin Gooner says some of what he's doing lately just seems sloppy and careless, just lack of focus at the moment for some reason. Yeah. Ozzy says we need to get Paulinia from Sporting next to him. A player like that would be world class soon. Um, haven't seen a lot of him, to be honest. Mary Chris Moss says Sambi was saved once by brilliant Tom TT tackle. Um, let's see. Christian says Smith Rowe was a bit of a passenger today. Um, I think he was just had a peripheral ESR performance where he just was just there, but he didn't really impose himself on the game in dangerous areas. He didn't give the ball away a lot, but he wasn't really doing much. And it took him until the 45th minute to dribble into the box. And I'm just like, they can't live with you if you dribble into the box. Once you get into the box, they have to make a decision. And I think Smith Rowe is his best when he's driving centrally into spaces that can actually hurt the opposition. And he didn't do that enough. But do I think that he was woeful? Like like Odegaard and Thomas were so poor on the ball. ESR wasn't poor on the ball. He just didn't really do much in terms of forcing his way into the game. So that's why I'm giving him a 7. Tony says ESR got marked out of the game, which allowed Nuno's masterclass. Tawanda says ESR was okay out wide today. He was isolated. Yo-Yo says ESR was not good. Um, Paris, Kevin Paris internal says, how is a team with 66% possession of the ball with two midfielders get a 4? Explain that, please. How is a team 66% possession of the ball with two midfielders get a 4. Explain that, please. I'm not sure what your question is. Um, uh, eh, I'm grading people individually. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what your question is, to be honest. Lalitia says that it's an international break hangover for ESR. He will come around. Um, Yo-Yo says, to be fair to ESR, even when he's not great, he's selfless. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like he was not poor. He just didn't impose himself. Like I don't think Saka was poor in the first half. He just wasn't making the right decisions and wasn't driving into the box. They're not doing what makes them so dangerous. They don't do it until later on in the game. And then you're like, why weren't they doing that before? I don't know why they don't start doing it until 50 minutes into the game. So yeah. Um, so ESR just gets a 7 for me. Saka, I think Saka was just very similar to Smith Rowe in that first half where they just weren't in it enough. Um, he had a couple of opportunities. He had the opportunity for Sambi, and I think he had like one other one. And oh, he had another one where Aubameyang was waiting on him to pass it to him, and Saka had like kind of like a little scuff shot. Aubameyang has a lot of nerve, expecting Saka to pass to him there. But I think Saka was okay in the first half, and then he really took it upon himself in the second half to make things happen. Again, that's the kind of thing that you expect from from your senior players is the things that Saka did in the second half to change the game. That's what you expect from Thomas Partey and Aubameyang and those types of guys. But you're getting it from Saka. I think what helped him is that he kind of went onto the left-hand side, and it gave him the ability to work on instinct. I think sometimes when we play left footers on the right side, and a lot of them, and right footers on the left side, what you get is players second guessing themselves and trying to figure out if they should go right or left. When left footers play on the left-hand side, they just go to the byline and make decisions a lot quicker and are more instinctual. And so I think you really saw that with Saka in the second half. I like him when he drifts a lot more. I don't know why it takes the entire game for us to start being just attacking normally and start letting our players switch spots and confuse the opposition. But Saka was great in that second half. His goal was really good, well taken, and hopefully he's not too injured and it's just a knock. But again, he's showing why he's such a special player because even when he's not perfect, he tries to do things to influence the game and impose himself on the opposition. And when he wasn't doing that in the first half, and I just don't see that enough from other players that are supposed to be doing it for us. So I'm going to give Saka an 8.5. Obviously, he would have got closer to like a 7 and a 7.5 had he not scored. But I think that that goal and his impetus, and even the free kick that he took that just bent around, and Tomiyasu was pretty much the only red shirt in the box going after it. I mean, he was great. So I'm going to give him an 8.5. Um, Christian says, to be honest, Saka has been since February. He's only just starting to get back into form. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that Saka has not been in the greatest of form, but the reality is that, like, even when he's not in the greatest of form, he's trying to make things happen, and he's just probably overplayed, and he's also just young. He's young, so he's going to have bad, like some fall off. Like it's just that's just how it is. But I think people want to go in on. They're so desperate to go in on Saka because it's like, well, he hasn't been good. Even when he's not good, he's still better than some of the other people that play in those positions. So there you go. Um, so yeah. I mean, what's wrong with saying I hope Saka is fine? Like, I hope he's fine. Like, I hope he's okay and he's injury free. Not sure what else I'm supposed to say there, you guys. Matt G says, why does Ramsdale keep getting criticized on Twitter for saving shots? He only saves shots when they're in the middle of the goal. I don't know. I don't know. Dublin Gunner says, your dog's trying to get his own player ratings in there, Jess. I mean, I think Bella's just hungry or something, you know? Um, yeah, so again, no, I think Yeah, they worry about him being burned out and overplayed, but there's also this element of he was so bad today. Of course he's gonna be bad some games, like, he's young, and I prefer Saka's bad games to Pepe's just whatever games. Like, Saka's he was good today, and he has been in and out of form, but you have to remember everybody that came back from the Euros, especially in the England squad, have not played really well at the beginning of the season, so I don't know. I just feel like there's this weird undercurrent of, like, Saka's not playing well and we need to say it. Well, yeah, but like there's senior players that are playing bad and we need to say that a little bit more because they should not be dropping fours and fives every game. It's insane. So that was Saka, ESR. Are we at the Aubameyang conversation yet? Make sure there's 127 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Aubameyang, wow. Like, here's what's frustrating to me. Aubameyang is getting a lot of praise for his work rate. And yeah, like it's cool that he's pressing and he's trying. I think we're more happy about it because he obviously wasn't doing it before, but it should be a prerequisite to be on the Arsenal field and wear the Arsenal armband and get paid by Arsenal Football Club to play hard. Um, so I'm not really feeling it. But the chance that he got in the first half that he just kind of it was like he was shocked that it came to him and then he hit it against the post. That's a little bit I feel like of not getting chances but also not being switched on and he needs to concentrate more. That's the reality. Or are they getting a red? Are they getting a red? What is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? I don't know what's going on in this game. But yeah, I think with Aubameyang, it's kind of like I can give him a little bit of grace because he doesn't get a lot of chances, but he still needs to finish these really obvious ones. He had one against Watford where he let it clang off of his shin because he wasn't ready for the ball, and then it ended up going to Saka, and it was an offside goal. He missed a penalty, two penalties, was lucky to get a rebound against Aston Villa, and now today. And there were opportunities for him to score after that where it was like, oh, the ball was just a little bit overhit. I don't think it was overhit. I think that he just is not switched on and is not at 100%. He doesn't have malaria. Like, like this is going to sound so harsh. There's no outstanding circumstances beyond him just not being switched on right now. He's not coming back from COVID. There's nothing going on. So it's kind of like this is just the reality check that I feel like some people need to have. Aubameyang pressing is a prerequisite for his job, but he's not doing what we need him to do, which is put the ball in the back of the net. And it's worrying because we're not going to go through this season and bring in a new striker, I don't think, because we have like 16 on the books at the moment. So if this is what we're meant to go through, which is Lacazette, who really doesn't score a lot of goals, Aubameyang up top, we're screwed, unless Arteta starts to try to solve the problems with some internal solutions, which could potentially be somebody like a Martinelli if you were just to give him some more playing time. I get that Aubameyang doesn't get a bunch of chances. I get that he makes runs and people don't find him. But when he does get the chances, he's not putting them away. And that's really the crux of the situation. I get that he scored so many goals for us in the past and all of that, but like right at the moment, he's not really standing up and making it easier for the younger kids. So, yeah, I mean, he was really bad today, to me. And I think he was bad against Liverpool, but we gave him a pass because it was so difficult. He was bad against Watford. That's 3 games on the bounce. So um personally, I know Arteta won't do it because you can't drop Aubameyang after you said that this is the best form he's been in and you've never seen Aubameyang this switched on. But I would consider not playing him against Man United. I would consider not playing him against Man United. I think Martinelli has earned a start. I don't necessarily feel like we like I think Lacazette would really help be able to drop in and build up play from that central striker position. You could play Martinelli off of the right. You could play Odegaard in behind, and you could play Emil Smith Rowe off of the left. But I feel like there's going to be some concoction up top that's going to keep Aubameyang in there. And I don't necessarily feel like he deserves his spot at this point, but he runs a lot, you know, and apparently that's good enough. Ooh, as if they run a lot. So, which should be a prerequisite for his job, as far as I'm concerned. Tony says if Aubameyang wasn't 100%, Arteta should have started lockup. Mary says Aubameyang has sideritis. Mikey says he doesn't make those runs anymore. Mary says his touch can be so awful. Christian says, question is, does Arteta have enough cojones to drop the captain? I don't think he wants disruption in his ranks right now because things are going well. But like, it's not, if he can't bounce back from being dropped in a game, then his mentality is shit, as far as I'm concerned. He has played 3 games on the bounce and not played well. So at this point, any other player would probably get dropped if there was other options, and there are other options. Is it fair to keep Aubameyang because he's sprinting and running hard and he's the captain, or should you reward Martinelli for his good play and put him in the game? I don't know. And against Old Trafford, has Odegaard done enough to drop Lacazette? I'm sorry, but we can't play 3 strikers against Man United on Thursday. We can't play Martinelli, Aubameyang, and Lacazette. I don't think you can. So for me, there's some decisions to be made. Has Odegaard done enough to drop Aubameyang? Does Arteta have enough balls to drop Aubameyang? And I'm sorry, has Odegaard done enough to get a spot over Lacazette? And does Arteta have enough balls to drop Aubameyang? Because after watching this game, and I'll rewatch it and see if I feel differently, but on Thursday, I'm starting Martinelli up top, Lacazette in behind, and Smith Rowe, and hopefully Bukayo Saka. That's what I would do. If Bukayo can't play, then I guess, but I don't know. I don't know. He was bad. Binky says, Jess, unfortunately, inconsistencies and below par performances will be an ongoing theme throughout the season, but I'll honestly take us winning games like this if it means making top 4 this season. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. And top 4 is still on. You guys know I don't think top 4 is really on. Not with these. If the senior players don't step up, there will be games where we could win them that will fall short because the young players are not able to stay consistent. And so I see that as an issue. I think us lacking a little bit of attacking threat is going to hurt us as well. So I don't think top 4 is really on. I get that we're points wise right about there, but I hear what you're saying about we got the 3 points, so we should be happy. But like, it's more fun to talk about stuff and talk it through. Lay says fans need to stop giving excuses to Aubameyang. I personally feel that way. I think he was poor. And had we had not won this game, we would probably be more harsh on him. Mary says, Gabriel, Party, Odegaard, Ramsdale, KT, all captain material. Sell Aubameyang at Barcelona once in January. Love the guy, but sorry, it's time. Yeah, I mean, Aubameyang, I don't know. It's a hard conversation to have, but in reality, Aubameyang for me is not doing enough to keep his spot. And I remember, so we played a game against, I know it was lower level opposition, but we played Martinelli off of the left, Lacazette through the middle, and I want to say like Saka and Pepe. And I thought our offense really ticked that day because we had players that would take shots and that were dangerous and were good in behind, but you also had enough players to come in and play short. And I think you can do something similar to that with ESR, Martinelli, Lacazette, and maybe Odegaard or Saka, whoever's if Saka's fit. But I would drop Aubameyang. I just would. Sorry. So Yo-Yo says Arteta dropped Abba and let the world know why last season he's not scared. Well, let's see if he does it now. Um, Pap says we need to clean out up front like we did in the back. Yeah, no, I agree, and we are some players away from being able to. Here's the thing: is we know that the midfield and the striker position needs surgery, but in the meantime, we still should be able to speak about players that are going to be here and are being paid by Arsenal Football Club to perform. And so I'm not just going to sit here and be like, well, they're not going to be here anyway. Thomas Partey is not a player that's not going to be here anyway. Aubameyang is not going to be a player that's not going to be here anyway. Nobody's taking him off our hands with those wages. He's going to walk out for free. So we still have a whole two more thirds of a season left where he needs to perform, plus another year, and plus Thomas's 3 more years after that. Because who's going to take him on his wages at 32, 33 years old? So the reality is although we can give that excuse to Lacazette and they'll just fall away at some point and it'll be fine, in the short term, for everybody who's talking about top 4, if those players are not stepping up, they will be the reason why you don't make it. It won't be because Saka doesn't have goals. It won't be because ESR did this. It's not going to be because of Tomiyasu not being able to pass intricately or Tavares kicking the ball over the net. It's going to be because Thomas Partey and Aubameyang are not stepping up. Not going to be because of Lacazette. It's going to be because of those 2 players are not doing their job. So we have to be able to talk about them in the short term, even though we know that they're probably not going to be long-term options. I think that's perfectly fair. Together, they're being paid 500 grand a week. They're 2 of our highest paid players, if not the top paid players. And I get that the circumstances are not perfect for them to be at their 100% best, but Newcastle at home with all the possession is good enough conditions for them to play well. So I'm kind of tired of like this whole, well, we know that we need this. I hear you that they're not the long term, but in the short term, geez, they ain't doing it. They're not doing it, and it's okay to say that. Um, Tony says Aubameyang needs a game off, needs to get back to being as aggressive as Martinelli. I think if you drop him, that's it. I don't think he has a mentality to come back and do the thing. And that might be why there's some reluctance to drop him. Um, Yo-Yo says the biggest takeaway from the game is that Arsenal won while Abba and Partey were poor and Jack and Tierney weren't on the pitch. Massive strides taken today. That is probably the best comment of today. Thank you, Yo-Yo. Great perspective. And I kind of think that way as well. Like like we're in 4th place with a attack that doesn't function. You know what I mean? Like that can be looked at as a glass half full. If you're a positive person, a glass half full is even without a functional midfield and attack, we're still in and around 4th place. So when we get those things cooking, then look at how good we'll be. And that's how I tend to think about things. Um, but I still want more from those senior players. I can't lie. Um, Blaze says, Jess, I told you and Harry last week if the senior players won't step up, it'll be difficult for Arsenal to finish top 4. We can't put all the pressure on young players. I agree. But before we get out of here, you guys, who's your man of the match? I said it was Sambi. I think he took the most strides today in terms of somebody who was probably at his lowest of low against Liverpool to come back and put in a performance the way he did today. Obviously, we know that Newcastle is not a great team, but we saw that even though Newcastle is not a great team, some players that are supposed to be out there really performing for us didn't do it. So we have to give Sambi credit for stepping up and doing his thing. So for me, Sambi is my man of the match. But who's your man of the match today? Is it Saka? Is it somebody in that back line? Is it Tavares? Is it Tomiyasu? Let me know what you guys think before we go ahead and get out of here. Mary Chris says, exactly, Jess. That's what I'm saying. Let's see Laka and no Abba versus Manu. Maybe start Martinelli. Yeah, I don't see why Martinelli wouldn't. Oh, I forgot Martinelli. Oh my God. You guys were gonna let me forget Martinelli. Oh my gosh, I thought we had already talked about him. Oh my, you guys won't let me forget about Martinelli. Martinelli, I'm giving him an 8.5. I think that come in, instant impact, scores a goal. He did the same thing against Crystal Palace last season away from home, where one chance, one goal, running in behind. He times his run perfectly. It was like senior striker all over again. He had some good breakaways as well. He was good on that right-hand side, and Martinelli, I thought should have started the game, but he made it he's making it hard for Arteta to continue to play Aubameyang, and I like that. He wasn't putting on pressure before, he's putting on pressure today, so fair play to Martinelli. That touch, was perfection. He didn't bobble the ball, didn't hit off his shin. It was a perfect ball from Tomiyasu and a perfect, finish from Martinelli, and so for me, he gets an 8.5. Love that kid. Tezzy Mai says, shout out to Ramsdale for a great and painful save. Mikey B says, Arteta is grooming Martinelli. Everyone needs to calm down. Mary Chris says, and of course, Martinelli, brilliant energy. Kevin Paris says, Tamiyasu is his man of the match. Mary Chris says, Saka, Ben White, ESR, Nuno, Rami, and Odegaard, all great matches. Tawanda says, Sambi. Tezzy Mai says, Martinelli. Pap says, man of the match. Back five, great comeback for Nuno. Banky says, I agree with you. And yes, Abba needs to be rested. He is working hard, but not as effective where it matters most. I really hope they add some experienced players in January. I like what you did there. You said he needs to be rested instead of dropped. Nice play on words there, but I agree he needs some time out of the squad. Mary, Chris says Saka or Ben White. Yeah, Tomiyasu was definitely really good as well. Blaze says Sambi and Saka are man of the match. I mean, we all kind of have the same people. How many times have so this would be something that I'll look up for the post match for on Sunday, but how many games have this season have the senior players been nominated for man of the match? I think that that's going to be interesting. A lot of times it's been Ramsdale, Tamiyasu, the younger players, but when have the senior players been nominated for man of the match? Just nominated. Um, I'm sure it's not a lot, but yeah, I did forget Martinelli, you guys, but I thought we had already spoken about him. But we're gonna end it here. There's 120 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you think I'm just talking shit and I don't know what I'm saying. Let me know in the comment section. I will try to reply. Enjoy the rest of your footballing weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.